Hello and welcome to the King Heroes Journey podcast. My name is Beth Martins. I'm super excited to be here with two guys. I feel like I've known you guys for some reason, in past life stuff, in Acapulco, at least with Yerasimos and Joel Rafidi. So I'd just quickly say that if you are new to the King Heroes Journey podcast, this is a place where I host the brave souls. And today we're talking about one of my all-time favorite subjects, and it's beyond the truth. It's being real. Truth has become a very, let's say, abused word in our world, and it almost has lost its meaning. But I really admire these guys' work. And without further ado, I'm going to let you give me a thumbs up when you're ready to come on. Y'all are good. Okay, fantastic. So welcome, Yerasimos and Joel Rafidi.
Hey, Beth.
You're welcome. Let me try your last name, Yerasimos Stilianessis.
Wow.
Did I get it?
Right, Stilianessis.
I was practicing.
Most people don't get it right on the first try, and I don't often use my last name, so it's cool that you said it properly.
There you go. Yeah, super.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Yeah, it's a joy. I was joking that this is how I meet up with my friends. I have them on for a live stream. So it's so good. So if you don't know Joel and Yerasimos, they are the host of Here for the Truth podcast, which has taken off like wildfire in the last years. I did meet up in person with Yerasimos at an Acapulco 2 years ago. Interesting, you weren't there last year, and I nearly didn't make it, even though I was there. I was totally incapacitated. Joel and I were chatting real brief just about the tax that traveling can have on your body, especially when you're going across the world. And so I'll just let you guys know, again, if you're not familiar, that Joel and Yerasimos are truth seekers, coaches, educators who are committed to helping others break through illusions, live with authenticity, and take ownership of their lives. They're the co-hosts of Here for the Truth podcast, as I said, the co-creators of Rise Above the Herd, which is a psycho-spiritual journey into deeper self-knowledge, courageous action, and living in alignment with your deepest truth. They're also the co-founders of Friends of the Truth, a private membership community for grounded and discerning individuals dedicated to authentic growth. Blending sharp philosophy, psychology, and unfiltered honesty, Joel brings a creative edge as a writer and conscious hip-hop artist, challenging conditioned narratives and inspiring radical self-responsibility. And with over 2 decades in personal development, Yerasimos fuses human design, somatic therapies, and parts work to help others integrate the psychological, emotional, and biological dimensions of transformation. Together, they offer a rare combination of insight, humor, and practical tools that cut through the BS and inspire real, lasting change. So, yeah, it's a beautiful subject. I think, Joel, what inspired me to have you guys on today was a meme that you made, and just really drilling home the authenticity. Mm-hmm. And this has been the subject of my entire life, like right from the get-go. So I wanted to, go into some basics that might even seem that they go without saying. But or actually, before we dive in with some questions, do you guys want to just talk about what life is like for you these days? What are you up to? What do you have going on?
Go for it, bro.
Yeah, life is going really well. I mean, obviously Joel and I have what we're up to, which has been great to have this collaboration for 4+ years now. So, being an entrepreneur, it's always a journey of continuing to evolve, continuing to tweak. But I couldn't be more blessed to have Joel as my business partner and my dearest friend. I feel like I hit the lottery. So I'm grateful for him in so many ways. And then my life, I lead a pretty simple life, in Topanga, California with my wife and our dog, Rosie, now our 5 cats and our 10 chickens and a whole bunch of fruit trees and other plants. So I've been getting a lot more into learning about permaculture and syntropic agriculture and really learning how to work with nature to bring more abundance. So I kind of lead a simpler life. I'm not as outspoken in some ways outside of what we do on the podcast. And yeah, things are going pretty well. So excited to see how things unfold.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. If all of your energy is always going outward, then you're not building the thing that all of that outward energy is for, which is your life and the chickens and the cats. And shout out to Sophie, by the way. It was nice to meet her as well.
Yes, she's swimming with whales right now. She went on a trip to French Polynesia to swim with whales, she's obsessed with whales. So it's a dream come true for her.
No kidding. That's amazing. Yeah, so good. And what about you, Joel? Anything to add to that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, life is interesting. It's a constant trip. It's something that's constantly in motion. It feels like years feel like 5 years or 6 years condensed into one. Just transformation and evolution is always ripe, especially on this journey, which I think, the authentic path kind of allows for that kind of catalyzation and acceleration. I completely echo what Yerasimos said. Blessed to have a dear friend and someone in many ways has been a key mentor in my life for the last 4 years. And yeah, currently living in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. Left Australia nearly 3 years ago now. It was February 2023. And I have 3 beautiful daughters, my amazing wife, Alyssa. I'm blessed to be able to work from home and basically have this amazing creative vessel to pour our inward expression into and inspire and help others. And then at the same time, get to walk downstairs and see my beautiful family. And like you mentioned, recognize what it's all really for.
That's beautiful. I love that. I'd like to talk about, just because you mentioned entrepreneurship and partnership, which are 2 elements that are, for the average person is not aware of what that path is like. The average person is that, discovers at some age, usually adulthood, like, oh, I need to make a living because otherwise I don't get to live. The only animal on earth that requires money in order to live. And do you guys want to talk about that leap? Like, were you always doing something in an entrepreneurial way, or like what was that precipice when you decided to swap over into that world?
Yeah, well, I mean, I like to think of liberation as removing separation between who you are and what you do. And for me, it's entrepreneurship that really allows for that. I reached kind of a threshold in my life in 2020 where I just became so exhausted of the lack of genuine possibility and opportunity in front of me in the life that I was living. And I made a commitment to myself to just make those harder decisions, have difficult conversations if necessary. But I just craved equilibrium more than anything else. And my path as an entrepreneur has really just been wanting to align my reality as close as possible to who I really am, literally making the world in my image. And yeah, it's not like I leave and I work 9 to 5, then I come back and I'm not working and I'm in dad mode. It's like, no, all these worlds kind of begin to blend and morph into one. And my life is my life. It's a singular reality in many ways, so to speak. And I think to me, it's the best life possible. Just being able to pour my energy and my focus into creative endeavors that provide value to myself and others. And I don't have to pretend. There's no changing clothes, there's no changing hats, really. It's just, I'm building and magnifying whatever this is. And there's no clear objective, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, the stepping stones are the stepping stones, and we're just focused on the next stepping stone in front of us right now.
Great answers. I love that. Yeah. Sometimes I'll say that you don't want a work-life balance. You just want a life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's seamless, where you're not like, oh, who am I right now? What hat do I need to put on? What face or persona do I need for this role?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
with the vocation, it's so much deeper than work. What's calling you when it comes to vocation, it isn't just, let me just bring money in, let me just put food on the table. There's a deeper calling that's there that I can't help but to answer. And for whatever reason, on a mythological level, I'm being called forward in a certain way. And you answer that call, and it's like life wouldn't be life without that. If you leave that call unanswered, it's going to eat you alive, and you're going to end up very mundane and full of regrets at the end of the day.
indeed. Yes, exactly. And I often will also say that there are easier ways to make money, right? Rather than your calling and your life's work and the thing that makes you the most transparent, where the world is more interested in not being seen, although equally interested in being seen. We'll get into the nuances of that. Anything you want to add to it, Yerasimos?
No, I love what Joel said. And I think like you, Beth, I feel like I've been on this journey for a really long time, and I've always been fascinating with like who I am as a human being and what does that mean to live in this world. And it always brings me back to one of my favorite quotes. And I don't believe it's an exact quote, but it's attributed to Aristotle, and it's knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. And so, yeah, I mean, after college, I think even just leaving for college and not staying close to home, for university, that was the first kind of answering the call of, most first generation Greek children, they like take over the family business or whatever. And I was like, no, I want to go away to college. And I was in a position I was able to do that. And that's where it began for me. I was very like, oh, wow, there's this whole world out there that I'm curious about. And then it just continued on from there, where I'd be lying if I said I sat here and at 18 was like, this is what my life is going to look like in 20 years. Like, that's not really how I roll personally. I follow the threads of what I'm interested in and what I'm passionate about and what excites me and what lights me up. And then we see where that goes. And so it's been a journey. I mean, we'd have to have 5 hours to like talk about the nuances of that journey. And I'm sure Joel's heard me speak on this stuff, but it's like, I just follow that thread. And if something doesn't feel right, then let's put it down. And obviously a lot of things shifted when I met Joel. I mean, before that, I was working more one-on-one with people, body work, coaching, human design. But meeting Joel was great because we were able to kind of put everything together in a way. And plus, I love having conversations. I love exploring what it means to be a human being, and not just in the external world. Obviously, when we started our podcast in 2021, the world was pretty different. And I feel like we were even more hardcore in that rebel mode of like, we need to have these conversations of what's going on in the world. There's so much information that's being kept from the public. And we just wanted to have, again, those dialogues that we thought were important to have, and to highlight information and to educate others on things that we believe were important. And then of course it evolved into, supporting people to really kind of continue on that hero's journey and to reclaim ownership of their lives and to be really curious about like, who the fuck are you? Do you even know who you are outside of all the conditioning that occurs in this world? It starts with parents. We have culture, we have religion, we have society, we have TV, all this stuff that just programs you to be a certain way. But like, when you peel that away at your essence, what is that thing that lights you up, that excites you, that gets you all jazzed up of like, man, I have this gift of life. I am a human being. What do I want to do with it? And so that's a big piece of our mission, is like to kind of reignite the excitement about being human. And then that you get this gift. It isn't a fucking burden. Excuse my language. It is not a burden. We get this gift. And what do you do with the gift?
Exactly. Yeah, you said it, that if you get the gifts, but if you don't cultivate them and give them to anyone, it's like they don't exist.
Yeah, and you have to be willing to disappoint all those people in your life that have projected all these things on you, on how you should look and how you should live and what you should do with your life. And if you're not willing to do that, you're going to be sitting at 50, 60 years old being like, really? This is my life right now?
Yeah.
And so you have to have the capacity to like deal with the discomfort of that. Mm-hmm. And I've done it multiple times in my life, and it's probably going to continue.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's kind of like toxicity building up over time in the body there. There's like, don't take health advice from young people, I've noticed, because they haven't got to that point where, everything can be true for them. It can be, going in every direction, or every kind of, remedy or supplement or all that kind of stuff. They have the luxury of playing with life in that way, just to make a health analogy. Mm-hmm. And the longer you go on and because not following your truth and your calling is a kind of toxic accumulation over time, because what you have to do is suppress your true self. And that turns into, that is the makings of the programming. That is the poison at the emotional, spiritual level. And it doesn't get less, it gets more, and it gets harder. So the greater the accumulation, the harder it is to start chipping away and getting down to the core essence of who you actually are. Yep. Yeah. Anything you want to add, Joel?
No, I think that's beautifully said, and you guys have covered it very well, for sure. I mean, for me, it just comes down to reverence of the sacred, and what could be more sacred than the fact that you live? So what are you going to do with that? Do you value your life or not? If you value your life, you know the answers, and sometimes those answers are hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a very hard subject. Nobody really wants it, and if we start drilling down in a second to being real, being authentic, reality itself. We've actually had some pretty cool discussions on the King Hero chat these days, and a deep philosophical what really is reality, what's relative truth, what's absolute truth. And while the conversation in some ways can be teleological, like it just goes in circles and you don't exactly get anywhere. I just threw in the question, like, what would we get if we got to that place of understanding the absolute truth? What would be the gain? What would be different? What would we, how would we live our life in a new way, or how would that support life more greatly? I think is the greater question, because it's not philosophy at the end of the day. That really doesn't give you anything, but it's being able to demonstrate and live that truth that the proof it really comes in.
Yeah.
Did you guys by any chance have a chance to do the quiz at my website, the Archetype quiz? Oh, you did.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. What were your archetypes?
We both got the rebel. Although I think we took this like a few years ago when we had a conversation. I remember being the lover. I don't know if Joel was the king a few years ago. So yeah.
Okay. Memories.
Did it change? Did the quiz shift at all in the last few years?
There has been some adaptation, not like overall the structure, but just some for clarity. I'd get feedback. People go like, I don't know what that means. So
I feel like it was way more of a rebel in my life a few years ago, but then again, it still lands and resonates.
I mean,
I feel like it's just who we are. I mean, when you have a podcast called Here for the Truth, I mean, how can you not be somewhat rebellious?
Right. Well, here's the thing. You're all archetypes on the hero's journey at the same time. But what the quiz does, and that's why you can do it periodically over time and get different results, is because you're continuously moving on the hero's journey. You're growing, you're changing, and maybe the rebel that you got some years ago, or the lover that you got some years ago, has now evolved up the scale. I'm assuming it went up rather than down.
I would think so.
Yeah, I don't see you guys devolving. And then, it's just pointing towards what in your life might be of greater value to you if you go to work on it at this time. So what shadows might come forward. It doesn't make it irrelevant for all of the other archetypes by any means. But yeah, that's something. So I did your quiz at your website. If you're not familiar, you can. Yeah. I almost didn't do it. The reason being that I'm kind of, this might have happened to you as well. When you get deep into typing processes, whether archetypes or human design, like you guys are into, or parts work, and although parts work isn't really typing, then you get, it's harder to answer the questions. For example, also when in my business days working with my family, we did a lot of market research and, writing questionnaires and all of that kind of thing. And I would always be disqualified. Say somebody wanted me to do a quiz, the first thing I would say, or not a quiz, in that case, it would be more research. I would say, I work for a communication and marketing firm, and they would go, oh, thank you very much, click. Right. So I would be disqualified from that. Why? Because the process, there's no trickery involved in it, but when behind the scenes, and you can't just answer from a really fresh mind, which is what I try to do when I answer those quizzes, if I do at all. But I know exactly where you guys are going with different things, and it complicates things. Yeah. So, but I did get the Maverick. So in a way, we're actually right in alignment here, all three of us, which is
Nice.
definitely that rebel. Yeah. Pretty fun.
And I think quizzes like that, they're fun, and they're a way just to kind of like get to know yourself a little bit potentially, and just get a gauge, because I feel like I could relate to a lot of, even the ones on our quiz, I could relate to a lot of them, so it's interesting for sure.
That's it. Yeah. We're all over the map. We are whole, not only in our own individual beings, but as a collective humanity, we are that wholeness. So nonetheless, patterns still appear and are relevant. So yeah, that's really fun. I'm glad I had a chance to ask. Hello to a few more people in the chat. I'll just say hi to John, and Yvonne Reese is here. She's going to catch some later. RMASB, nice to see you. And Dagmar, loved don't take health advice from young people. There you go. Yeah, big subject these days.
Beth, as you were saying that, I was thinking about the rebel. And initially I was like, well, I don't feel like I'm as much of the rebel as I was in the past. But like the rebel can show up in different ways. Like even like when we think about like what alternative media and what the truther community and all that has turned into. You know, like I feel like almost like we're rebelling away from like all the doom and gloom and all the problems and all just pointing the finger at everything that's going on. And it's like, in a sense, like focusing more on the inner life and what you're building and what you're creating, it feels like in today's day and age, more rebellious.
Exactly. How deep can you go with your rebellion? Right? Where everybody's afraid. Are you a rebel if you're managing your fears and releasing your fears and creating anyway in spite of them, or, you know, gaining your freedom for real rather than just seeking out all the doom porn to scroll on. So yeah, that's a big subject. Very good. I like that. I also want to ask you about partnership, because that's something that I think is a beautiful thing when it happens, you know, at many levels, whether it's in work and business or relationships, and what you've discovered, you know, what you feel might have been different for you guys working together as a team and how that came about.
In terms of how it came about?
Well, but I mean, not necessarily just the how it came about, but you know, the evolution from being solo in something to being a partnership. I feel a very strong bond between you guys. I see the mutual support. I've worked in some partnerships in the past, and you know, I just see you guys like each other's posts, and you know, you
I
ask.
love Joel. I deeply love Joel as a human being. He is a brother to me. I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for him. He's just an amazing.
I've got a box of tissues.
Yeah, he's an amazing human being, and it all started because he hit me up on Instagram. He just messaged me on Instagram, and you know, I don't need to get into the story, but we met because he saw my wife and I on the Unslaved podcast in 2020, and I mean, he was in Australia first and foremost, and I was in California. And so when we spent 2 years working online in little squares just like this, I'd already had gone through my entire day of doing things, and then he'd get up all energized in the morning to work, you know, that we'd start working at 3-4 p.m. my time. So those first couple of years are interesting, but great too. And I think we bring different things to the table. We have different skills. You know, I don't think Here for the Truth would definitely not be what it is without Joel, you know.
It couldn't exist. It couldn't exist independent of either one of us.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm just going to talk about Joel, but yes, it could not exist without us. Like, I don't think I like working in like small teams or in partnership. I prefer it. And so yeah, it's been a journey, and we keep it real with one another. You know, I'm sure there might be times where we don't say everything, but we're pretty good at, like, if something's like feeling a little off, we just speak it out and we have a conversation, and that's it. But we respect each other.
Yeah.
And we have similar core values.
That's the key word is respect, for sure. There's just a level of respect there that is not worth sacrificing for anything. And it's a choice that we continue to make day in, day out. Like it's a selfish choice to want to be in a partnership with Yerasimos. I enjoy working with Yerasimos. It's exciting to build and to bounce ideas and to tweak things and to evolve our products and our business and whatever it might be. So there's a deep joy in that as well, you know. But yeah, it's like over time, through the course of our relationship, it's just so much more value has been added to my life than anything else, you know. And so, like, why endanger that? Why hinder that? It doesn't make any sense. And also, just on a deeper mythical, spiritual level, it just feels like some things were meant to be born into this world. Some people were meant to be connected. There's something greater on the other side of some relationships, which want to come into fruition, you know. And so it feels very synchronistic the entire way as well. Yeah.
And I think also too, like, we want to be the example of what happens when you have an idea, you have an exciting thing within, and you follow that and you stay consistent with it.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't know
episode one, walking the authentic path.
Yeah.
Right.
We literally just got on Zoom one day and pressed record and started talking about what does it mean to live an authentic life and to be on an authentic path, what that meant to us. This our personal experiences. And then we're like, well, let's just record another one. And it was part 2. And then we went, maybe we should have guests. And then we had our first guest. And then here we are 250 something episodes later. And, you know, what has come from that? It's like what you said earlier, you love having your friends on, you know, and have conversations. And like, yeah, to some degree we do that as well. But even just from having a platform like this and having a podcast, the relationships that we've built, the connections that we've made, the circle that has expanded, the events that we've been at together, like because of a decision that you then continued on. Like you have to start. And then we did. And fortunately, we enjoyed working with one another. And we keep evolving and tweaking things. And I mean, 4.5 years later, it's just pretty incredible. Like what has evolved from this? And like there's so much more to go. I mean, we're still grinding. We're still trying to figure things out. Like we don't have it all. Like we'd love our podcast to grow even more. So obviously we want to impact more individuals and shine a light on like what is possible. Like, because I just feel like a lot of people are like, this is my life. I don't know what to do. You know, and it's like there's so much layers of conditioning underneath that spark that's waiting to come out. And so, you know, what needs to be done so that can be freed? And it's fortunately, it takes work. It's not just you're going to sit at the top of the mountain and meditate for 60 minutes and then you're enlightened and great. Everything's perfect. Like we're human beings. Earth requires work to a certain degree. Now, people have different views of the word work, but I think
I saw the Ola Wolney comment before come through. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh no, I haven't.
Yeah.
What was that, Joel?
I saw someone left a comment saying, ask them about Ola Wolney and what happened in that episode. And the big key about what happened on that episode is Ola doesn't think work exists. So I just was referencing that came up just then. That's all. There it is.
Okay. All right. I hope that answers it, Karina.
Yeah, there's more to it, but
yeah, there's more to it. If you want to get into it, we can, but it's up to you.
No, there's just differences in communication and different views and different base worldviews, and that we challenged her on them. And I think some people didn't like that we challenged her, and maybe we could have done it differently, but I'm happy with how the interview went. And there was a lot of things learned there on both sides, but people are going to view things through the lens they see the world, and they're going to come to opinions from that place.
Yeah, and if I can just say something as well, I think it's our job as hosts to kind of be in the seat of our audience and bring forth as much coherence as possible and bring forth the juice that fits into a congruent idea of reality. And so there's a line of questioning that needs to take place in those instances. So yeah, I think there's just a deep philosophical difference as well in terms of, you know, I personally don't believe that we're just in a fallen realm. We're here to suffer and we live in a prison planet. That's not where I come from. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's the rebel archetype that isn't afraid of some controversy.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to shy away from, oh, somebody's going to disapprove of how I did this, or, you know, and then you run and beg people's approval, which, you know, there's a lot of people out there that might have that persona that they really are just going to stand for the truth and they don't care how people feel about it. Now, you know, there can be levels where you don't care about what normal people feel about it, but you do care about what your friends in the truth world think about it. And you can see, right, like the stakes get higher when you disagree with somebody, and then, you know, maybe you're going to lose your audience over. So I don't know, like I said, I can't speak to the situation. There might be people that decide, oh, you know, Joel and Yerasimos, no, it's a no, because of that. And I mean, I think
that's fine too. That's
right.
fine. Like, you know, I mean, ultimately, like, I'm not afraid of some conflict. And I think, again, depending on the lens you see things, a lot of maybe spiritual types, they want things to be all tied up in a bow and nice. And sometimes we got to get into conflict. Sometimes things need to be a little messy. You know, I think at the end of the day, there was a lot of learning on all sides from what transpired. And by the way, it's pretty benign. It wasn't like some major thing, you know, so we don't need to delve into it, but it just means differencing of opinions. You know, some people might think we were mean and argumentative hosts when we were asking like pressing questions to get more clarity. There's also a potential language barrier there as well. But anyways, like I'm cool with some conflict. I mean, ask my wife. Like I like getting into some deep conversations, and like doesn't mean like just because I'm angry or like I want to get into it that like I'm ultimately upset. You know what I mean? Like we can continue on afterwards. So, you know.
How do you ever learn anything without friction? Like it's not the case. It's not reality.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. If you don't bump against something or something doesn't create resistance, then what would be the cause of growing? Now, I think ultimately the potential for growing is always there, and it doesn't have to be through resistance or controversy or conflict or anything like that. But that stuff, all the negative stuff, is for some reason, the bigger door, it creates more pressure, more energy, the tendency to learn quicker and heal faster is there when there's some pressure. So that
Yeah,
was,
and I mean, pretty much all the energy that's kind of built what we've built to this point has come from going against the crowd in some capacity. Like my platform on social media was pretty much built by me being outspoken, by me speaking against the Australian government, by me having unpopular opinions, which now have become popular. And so it's like there's gifts in that, you know.
And
yeah.
also too, you brought up a relationship before, and so let me just think of, I mean, any relationship, but I'm going to think of like a primary, loving partner, like a partnership with a spouse or a girlfriend or whatever. Is that like you don't want to keep things under the rug the whole time. You want shit to come out, and then what determines the strength and the beauty of the relationship is how you come together afterwards and repair. Like a great relationship isn't one where everyone's just holding hands, kumbaya all the time and everything's great. A great relationship is where people express who they are, with all the different wrinkles of their personality and their psyche. And there's going to be some, like Joel said, friction there, and there's going to be some arguments, and maybe some things are going to be said, but then that gives the opportunity for both individuals to step away and to reflect on what occurred, what happened, and hopefully, if you're a healthy being, you can discover and take responsibility for your role in the dynamic. And then when you come together, because very often it takes two to tango, most of the time there's a dynamic at play, and so then you can come back in and go, hey, listen, I'm sorry, I was kind of disrespectful and I was kind of acting like an asshole. And then maybe she's like, I'm sorry, I was trying to control you. And so you just kind of gain some awareness from that. And so I think trying to like people please, or everything has to be beautiful and sweet and good and positive, like you're doing yourself a disservice, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And like the frictionless path is the inauthentic path, because look at most people's trajectory in life. It's been pre-carved for them. All the edges, all the things that might hurt them have kind of been bubble wrapped away. They've been given this map, which is basically a highway towards the inauthentic life. You finish school, you go to college, you get the degree, you get the job, you get the mortgage, you get married, you have kids, you die, so to speak. Whereas like the authentic path, we don't know what tomorrow looks like. We don't know what it looks like 100 yards, 200 yards in front of us. Like each day is becoming clearer as we take each step, as we move towards it, so to speak. There might be snakes, there might be dragons, there might be angels, there might be gold, all this stuff. And that's exciting. You know what I mean? Whereas like the inauthentic path, which the mass of men lead, and I'd like to quote Henry David Thoreau here, the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation, is because they lead inauthentic lives. They're not discovering anything new about themselves because they're living a life and they're walking a path that was never theirs to begin with.
Boom. I love that. One also thing that people don't realize, and this is a strength of the rebel archetype by far, is that allowing yourself to have the conflict that's there. It's already there. It's not that and I mean, that would be a shadow if you run around creating conflict just to get a rise out of people or something like that. But that aside, is that it always has it's fertile ground. I think Dagmar said it, conflict is a great fertilizer. And the shit that the lotus grows out of, and that that's very poetic and beautiful, but it does have that makings for a like you said already. I'm just repeating what you were saying there, Yerasimos, is that you all of a sudden you see something about yourself that had you not allowed yourself to go into that arena, you wouldn't have seen, because it's just circulating inside, probably unconsciously. That's my big subject that I am teaching about and coaching about and training people to coach in that arena. And when you have the awareness of yourself, and one of the tenets and the principles that I subscribe to and teach is radical responsibility, which goes way beyond sorting out what's my shit and what's their shit.
Yeah.
right? Absolutely beyond that, because there's a certain goodness in that if you're like maybe blaming somebody for everything. But once you take responsibility for the whole entire thing, absolutely everything, you ask yourself, how did I do it? And that's more king-like, doesn't not in any conflict with the rebel, of course, knowing that they're all included, but that's how you make real change in your world. That's where miraculous things shift, and they don't know what happened.
It's empowering to take radical responsibility. Like, that's it. It's your life. What are you going to do? You just got into something with a person. Put the finger on yourself. How could you have done things differently? How could you have said something like that didn't maybe bring a person to that reaction? I continue to remind myself, radical responsibility. Like, it just feels more, like you said, king-like. It feels more masculine. It feels more like this is the type of man I want to be, because it's so easy to just point the finger.
Yeah.
It's easy. It doesn't take a lot of work. It's like, I don't need to deal with the vulnerability. I don't need to deal with healthy shame potentially of like, oh man, I just said that thing to that person. I don't want to be that kind of person saying those types of things.
Yeah. And it just turns into an accounting game. Then you're adding up what's all your, little X's and my X's and which is worse. And you end up like with absolutely nothing. But like you said, that's where the power is in taking full responsibility for the whole entire thing.
The healthiest relationships, whether it's business partnership, friends, romantic relationship, are where both parties do that. Both parties are doing that. Both parties have a core value of personal development, greater self-awareness, radical self-responsibility. It's pretty simple in a lot of ways. Now, of course, there's a lot of stuff wrapped up in that, but it's simple at the end of the day.
Right. And one of the things I notice is that people have limits, right? So it would be easy maybe to agree with this and feel the energy of the words and the conversation. And then, they'll go so far. Mm-hmm. And they'll take so much responsibility, and then there will come a limit. What do you guys notice about? You've been working with people, you've seen them evolve over time. What do you notice about that, where people hit their limits, and what's up with that?
You mean limits in terms of like taking too much responsibility?
No, that they stop, like they did that for a time. It's like that in so many arenas. When people want to dig the truth in a certain area, and they want to go so far. Maybe they're happy with Tartaria, or maybe they're happy with a flat earth, or maybe they're happy with, I can think of 1,000 examples. And then they, or like, oh yeah, everybody's trying to kill us. I'm done. I know that now. And then I'm not going to go any further. Or all of the, I'll just say, call it like it is, the alt law bullshit, right? Like that. There's people glommed on to a very manufactured movement in that arena. And it made sense to what made no sense because we have no knowledge. And they were willing to take this on and even study and learn and maybe even invest and go into some processes and stuff like that. And then when some greater truth came along, they rejected. Right? Or where much more sober truth based in history and context and reality, which is our subject today, they don't want that.
Yeah. I mean, we're all individuals at the end of the day as well, right? We have different constitutions. We have different lives, which have different levels of capacity as well. I think people ultimately make decisions based upon what kind of fits within that mold. And sometimes there's going to be a level of comfortability and familiarity where people are like, okay, I'm going to plateau here or chill here for a period of time. And then, bring in the nervous system piece. What capacity is there in your nervous system to hold more and more space for this new knowledge? And do you even want to? So I think all those things factor in as well. Yerasimos, you want to go?
Yeah, no, I love that you brought up the nervous system piece. But I think we're dealing with also just the two poles of certainty and uncertainty. And I think so many people need to feel certain. And so if new information comes in to kind of throw them off, yes, that feeling of I'm certain I have the answers. Again, do you have the psychic capacity for that? Do you have the somatic capacity for that, to deal with that, to sit with that? there are many people that aren't even able to say, I don't know. You know, that's like, oh, but I have to know, because if I don't know, what does that mean about my life? And so if you're on this authentic path of seeking truth, as best as you can, you got to have that space to potentially go, you know, everything I thought for the last 5 years was further from the truth than now, or maybe it brought me to a certain point, but now this piece of information is bringing me there. So you have to kind of be willing to I don't want to say reinvent yourself, but just be open to the fact that, hey, I have these strong convictions. I have beliefs about what I believe is true. And then hopefully have enough space to have this part of you that goes, and I'm open to being proven wrong. I'm open to new information coming in that's going to change the way I look at things. And again, this is why the truth seeking isn't just this external process. There are tons of people who know a lot of things about the things happening in this world, and their relationships are a mess. The way they think about themselves are a mess. You know what I mean? And so it's like, ultimately, it's an inner game. I mean, it's a dance, of course, inner, outer, but like, you got to get the inner game sorted as best as you can. That's going to allow you, I think, to dance and navigate the external world more fluidly, more smoothly, more healthily.
You got it. Were you going to say something, Joel?
I mean, I think it depends on the person's value system as well, you know, like external truth seeking, or, you know, uncovering Tartaria or flat earth, two subjects which personally I'm on the fence about, to be honest with you, like might not be a core value to that individual. So like, where do you pour your energy? Where do you pour your focus, etc. So yeah, it's a curious topic, definitely.
And you're allowed to like have seasons, you know, of your life, of the year. You're allowed to spend 2 months diving down one rabbit hole and realizing, you know what, I'm not interested in this. You know, maybe I didn't get to the ultimate truth of it, but I dabbled a bit, and now I'm moving on. You know, like, I'm in a period of my life now, I'm not going down tons of rabbit holes. Like, sure, I want to stay sharp, and I want to continue to educate myself, and you know what I mean? But like, there's 24 hours in a day. Like, where do I want to spend these 24 hours? What are my priorities? Like Joel said, what do I truly value? And so, you know, I have responsibilities at home. I have a property to manage. I have a wife. I have animals. I mean, I don't even have kids. Well, imagine if I had kids as well. That's a whole nother thing. And so to spend like 7 hours on my phone arguing with strangers on Instagram about like what's going on the other side of the fucking world, like, I'm sorry, I don't care. Or let's just say a big part of me does not care.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And to go back to that certain, not certain, this was a deep dive. I think it was actually in prep for one of my Anarchapulco talks on the masculine, feminine, and those two qualities, right? The masculine is certain, the feminine is uncertain. And so if you are trying to be only certain, which our world conditions us to, not only conditions, but demands that of us. Because if you're not certain, who's going to listen to you? If you come out and go, I don't know, this kind of thing, it's not exactly the big attractor.
Uncertainty doesn't sell.
It doesn't sell. No, exactly. And it's very uncomfortable. So that's one thing that I've done a few private interviews with someone in the House of Free Will these days who's extremely knowledgeable about law. Why? Because he got totally kicked down and railroaded by using all of the alt law stuff. And he got really humbled, intensely humbled. So it sent him to study. He decided that was his rabbit hole to go down in a very deep way. And he said it so poignantly, is that when people don't know, what do they usually do? They make shit up.
Yeah.
They try to fill in the blank and come up with something that makes sense, and everybody else will agree, oh yeah, that does make sense, but it's not based in anything. So to just sit there with the gaping wound of not knowing and being uncertain is, for most people, too hard on their nervous system. Why? It's pain, and pain is energy. That especially when you encase it and make it a still rather than a moving picture.
Yeah, and certainty is also the end of growth and the end of possibility. You know, the philosopher Karl Popper, like, the foundation of his ideas is that all human knowledge ultimately is fallible. Like, we have to be able to hold the tension of opposites, that even our best, most clearest ideas today might fall on their sword at a future date when something better that makes more sense and feels more congruent is going to come in. So it's like, act on the best of your knowledge now, yes, but you can't attach your identity to that, because ultimately there exists the potential somewhere of new and better information that's going to replace it eventually.
Yeah, and that's the issue when you attach your identity to like the things you know or your beliefs, that when those are challenged, it's literally like someone's trying to kill you. And so we see what we see with the arguments, and even worse, you know, geopolitically across the world, you know, it's pretty wild. Yeah. So, and again, it goes back to, you have to do that inner dance and that work to know yourself and to see what, like, who am I really? You know, why do I believe the things do I believe? What potential exists on the other side? Am I missing something?
Exactly.
And my perspectives and views have changed dramatically on the most important subjects and ideas which I held so closely and so firmly to over time. I've just drifted, and I'm seeing more nuance, and I'm engaging with material I never would have engaged with from a previous dogmatic point of view. And like, to me, I see that as a beautiful thing now, and that rigidity becomes less and less over time as you kind of do this dance, you know. But like, there's I mean, what is it? Truth is a pathless land, you know, Krishnamurti says.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah.
I was just going to use a little example of it, that again, we love the people that are certain, and you tend to gravitate towards them because they're going, this is the truth, this is the way to do it. So, you know, in the days when we all realized that we needed to have something to do with growing our own food, or, you know, being part of that chain and cycle, that we might not be able to depend on the outside world in that way, and it's all poison anyway. And I remember learning about a simple thing, wood chip gardening, and it was put forward in this way as like the answer to all problems when it comes to growing food. And it was so, like, I was literally crying when I'm listening to this, like, oh, of course. And it all made sense, and it filled in all of the emotional blanks that I had around that. And then, you know, I remember I have the privilege of working with a family at a farm, helping them be part of their whole world there in development of the land. And I remember, you know, I was trying, even arrogant, I don't know if it was arrogance or what, but I was really trying to influence them based on this certainty that I had picked up off of this movement. And well, I turned out to be quite wrong in picking that up. It's not the be all and the end all. There is a place for it, and maybe a type of earth for it. I actually ruined my garden that way. I ruined it because of the type of soil that it is. It was completely inappropriate. And so over the course of the years, watching this, you know, like I'm the feminine that specializes in uncertainty, and he's the masculine that specializes in the certainty. And I learned to step back, because why every single year what he did worked and things I did weren't working.
Yeah.
You know, and it creates that humility, and that you guys used the word before, respect, that it's just, you know, okay, yeah, so don't be so caught up in that, and looking to that certain element, or, you know, being so influenced by that. Yeah. Do you want to say something, Joel?
Well, yeah, I've just learned to be wary over time. Whenever like a panacea arises up that evokes a deep emotional response, like this solves everything, like, just to have more space around those things.
And we see it most often. Well, let me give this example. In the nutrition influencer world, it's like everyone has to eat this way. Like, if you're not a carnivore, or if you're not eating this way, or if you're not a vegan, like, you're going to be unhealthy. Like, there's so many people living in so many different parts of the world in different seasons with access to different things. And to think that like the food you eat solely is going to be the thing, I just think is short-sighted, in my opinion. And like, if someone doesn't get on board with your program, like, they're going to shrivel up and die at age 50. It's silly to me.
Well, again, time will tell much more in those arenas. So all we need is a decade or two to see it all play out in reality, because there is a reality.
And it's more complex than just the material that you're absorbing. Like, what role does the individual psyche play across the span of their life as they're eating these different foods? Like, there's so much complexity that plays into, you know,
it's
that
material
paradigm.
versus non-material. Like my ancestors in Greek, living in the mountains of Greece, dirt freaking poor, not eating meat, maybe having some feta cheese and some bread and some lentils and some
Olive
wild
oil.
greens, are living to, you know, be over 100 years old. You know what I mean? So it's like you can get a nutrition influencer, be like, see their diet that they're having and be like, oh, they're not having enough beef. They should have had at least half a cow a day. How did they live this long? So there's just so many factors in that regards. So again, this brings us back to the conversation about certainty. And it's like, I know you have to listen to me. And I call bullshit on that.
The only thing that I know for certain is that I want to have the healthiest relationship as possible with myself. That's what I'm certain about. And that's what I feel certain about is going to impact all the rest of the arenas of my life in the best way possible. So my number one value is being integrity with me, being self-accepting of myself, of checking in with myself, of checking in of where I am oriented towards my goals, my values, my ideas, how well I'm doing, being a friend to myself. And I feel like that's going to feed everything else in my life, you know? And that's the foundation of self-esteem and basically the foundation of every message that we put out, all our programs, all our offers, all our conversations. That's the only thing that really matters is how you feel about you. And that is going to determine the quality of every single decision and every single choice that you make in your life, including the quality of the foods you eat, including the quality of the relationships you have, including how big your dreams are and how competent you feel to pursue them. And like, that's what matters. Ultimately, that's what matters. If it's going to risk my relationship with me, I'm not interested.
Right. Yeah, I'd like to go back and talk about identification, how that is such the hitching point. That's probably the wrong word, the sticking point, not the hitching point. And how I'm actually going to be doing a video today for the House of Free Will. Specifically, someone's father passed away and they were asking me about death and dying. And I'm like an expert in that area. And having, faced my own death and my parents died just pre-pandemic a little bit. And so one of the things that I've become aware of is how we have used our, like you said, Joel, I'll pick on you, not to tear your words apart, but like how you feel about you. And there is a certain information that can come of that, but it's really not the end game. So what ends up happening in our own in our own feeling world, whether it's, you could include thoughts and beliefs and emotions and the programs that people are not aware of in that. So the only real problem with all of that, and say the things that we get attached to and we're certain about and we're pushing this and we're pushing that, is at the level of identification. And it's highly nuanced when it comes to walking every day of your life and what is the right way for you to walk today and to have that relationship of integrity with yourself, which I think is more what you're saying rather. So I realize that wasn't your point exactly, but it's that identification that is the source of the unnecessary suffering. And that, life has a lot of opportunities for loss and for pain and for things that are, will be real, true, authentic experiences that if you tried to spiritually bypass away from it and pretend it's not happening, that will never serve you. All that does is cause you to suppress that stuff and take the identification at a more unconscious level. So to me, that's one of the really beautiful ways to look and check yourself, is to see, where are you identified? Where have you put yourself on something that's not actually yourself in reality?
Yeah, and that's something that's learned over time through developing a relationship with self, Like the path that I'm talking about is deeply immersed in genuine suffering. It's not exclusive of that at all. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Anything to add there?
No.
No, you can do that. So, what does it actually mean to be real? What if we pull that apart?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very big phrase, tall order.
I mean, it is.
I mean, I think it's to respond as appropriately as possible to reality and to, you know, your genuine thoughts and feelings about whatever is arising. I mean, I think it's in the word reality itself, right? Is the word real. So like, how do you orient yourself as clearly as possible to your internal and external reality and respond to all situations with as much consciousness as possible without abandoning yourself?
Right, right. And then it's tricky because you get into say in one moment you're very angry because somebody wronged you. They did something wrong, maybe by mistake or on purpose or whatever, and
Mhm.
and you're just pissed about it. And so say you go forward and you express that anger to that person. Maybe it comes out in a, you know, gentle, respectful way, or maybe it comes out like a boom of some kind and clobber them over the head. What I've noticed is that when you really do the inner work, you discover that the emotional scale is a moving target. And to go like, I am angry about this is a kind of lie, though I'm not going to run around call everybody a liar for that. It's you know, there is a moment of truth in being real and exposing that. But the vast majority of conflicts in my life now I solve inside myself, and usually it doesn't require me going to tell somebody that I'm angry, because I'm not anymore.
Well,
Mhm.
And
I think emotional intelligence happens over time. You're not emotionally intelligent if you're just reacting in the moment. Now, you may need to react in the moment, so then we can go back to what we said before about have some type of argument, and if two people are conscious enough, then they can come back together and hopefully become more aware and learn from it. But generally speaking, we get to emotional truth over time. I don't think there
Yeah.
is emotional truth in these instant reactivities like F you, how dare you fucking do that to me. Like if you were able to have enough capacity within yourself to pull away and to let maybe move through a wave, emotional wave, and settle and come to some level of clarity, you might see the situation and the person, you're rolling it, they're rolling it very differently.
Yeah.
And so I think we need to be mindful of thinking like, but this is what I'm feeling now. It's
Yeah.
true. And
And self knowledge is a pillar of being real, right? So if you understand yourself on an emotional level and you understand that the intensity that you're feeling in a moment about something might not be the absolute truth, and I think the real person that knows themselves gives them time to come to more emotional clarity before responding to a situation, knowing that responding from a place of imbalance can lead to outcomes in one person's life that, you know, are unnecessary.
Yeah, that you're going to regret and you'll cause more damage. You've been damaged, so you go and you do some damage, and then maybe they damage you again. And whoever's willing to hit the hardest wins, so to speak. So yeah, it's a really good skill to gain mastery in that arena. And you know, one of the things that comes up around being real, some people would say a synonym for that or a similar thing is honesty. That you're being honest. And you know, what are the tricky parts of that?
I
There's so
mean,
much nuance. There's so much nuance with honesty. You know, it's
Yeah.
like not if I meet someone on the street who I think is completely conditioned and is trying to have a conversation with me about everything I disagree with, it's not probably not worth my time to be completely honest about my points of view with every single person that I meet. You know, so
yes, I
I
think
think it has to fit into your value system.
yeah, and I think there needs
Right.
to be a level of discernment as well. Like,
Yeah.
and again, I am into parts work, so like different parts of me may have different views of things, and so it's up to me in this kind of center where I'm kind of the conductor of my own inner orchestra of many different aspects of myself. And so maybe there's a time to place to stand my ground and to be a little bit more forceful and speak in a certain way. Like, you will not speak to me this way. I'm not cool with that. Or maybe it's like, now's not the time, or I'm feeling dysregulated. I'm feeling like I need to pull away. I need to take some time for myself. So hopefully I have the capacity to be able to communicate that to someone. Hey, listen, I don't want to continue this conversation right now. I'm going to step away. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I think
interesting.
there's a fallacy that being real is just being fully expressive, fully open about how you think, feel on the deepest level with every single person. You know, it's like, to me, that's like an unrestrained level of it, so to speak. I think over time, like we're talking about, there's refinement and there's discernment. Like Aristotle, he says, like, anyone can be angry, but to be angry for the right amount with the right person in the right time at the right place, not everyone can do that, you know? And I think that's the differential that we're speaking about here.
Yeah, that's the dance. That's the ability to kind of know yourself and the different aspects of self. I mean, anyone listening right now, Beth, I'll ask you this question. Like, you're going through your day, la la la. Maybe someone cuts you off on the road, and you know, all of a sudden there's a part of you that comes in and is just saying certain things, or you know, I mean, we have so many different thoughts throughout a day. They don't all relate to one another. If we just went around speaking those out to everyone, that, I mean, we would be like schizophrenic. Do you know what I mean? Like, it would not come across well if every single thought or every single trigger I just responded to in the moment with every single person. Yeah. That would be insane. And so again, come back to like this expanded capacity, psyche and soma, to hopefully respond as appropriately as we can to a given situation.
Yeah. Like, and there's a learning curve with this, right? Maybe for someone who's completely suppressed, completely repressed, never really voiced themselves appropriately, as they start coming into, you know, this new knowledge or new ways of being, it might come out as very unconscious, might come out very crude. And that might be completely necessary for that person's path, for them to get the feedback from reality and then to bring more consciousness and bring more discernment next time it comes around, you know? So
it's not about perfection. Yeah. It's not about perfection. Like, we're not going to get to some day where all of a sudden we are the most perfect people in every single situation and we communicate perfectly all the time. Like, we're always getting data from our environment. You know, there are times where I might be a little bit more stressed or other things are going on and I just don't have the patience, and my wife might say something to me and I might respond in a way that isn't super conscious. But then I step away and I go, okay, take a little time, not very time, and maybe I go up to her and go, listen, that, you know, you didn't deserve that. I shouldn't have said that to you, you know? Yeah. And vice versa. She has her moments too, where it's like she says something to me and I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? You know? So like, I mean, what is that perfect? I mean, we can strive for it. We can strive to be as conscious as we can and to know ourselves and to, you know, heal on as many levels as we can. But we're human beings. This is part of like life here, like on Earth. We're going to get into shit. We're going to be triggered. We may not respond appropriately. But again, what do we take from the situation? How do we learn and grow from it and then move forward and hopefully do it 10% less or 20% less? It's a constant evolution. That's
I think perfection is the antithesis to real, you know, in the same way that I think certainty is the antithesis to real growth.
Nice. So it's like how do you dance with the complexity of what it means to be human? How do you put your arm around it all and accept it all to some degree? Doesn't mean you act from it, but like, are you aware of like the deep nuance and complexity within yourself as a being? A lot of people are uber repressed. They're operating life from just like a small cluster of ways of looking at the world and being in the world. It's like what you said before, Beth. There's so much repression. Now, the opposite of that isn't complete, unregulated, like I said, say whatever you want. Yeah. But it's good to get to know this stuff. You don't want to repress these elements of yourself. You want it to come to the surface, but there's a lot of aspects of being human that you don't want to act on. Mm-hmm. That would land you in prison very often.
Yeah, and people are on a pendulum swing between suppression and expression, and they think that they only have these two options. Yeah. And this is a map, right? This is a map to be followed and to be studied. But the purpose of the map, I always say, is to get off of the map to freedom, right? That you're not just, like, do I suppress or do I barf my experience out on somebody when it's like really raw? And, you know, honesty goes very deep. And sometimes people will be honest about how they think about someone or how they feel about someone or how they see someone or the mistake they think someone else is making. That to me is not honesty. That's just revealing your your inner thought about them. I could be derogatory about it, say you're like your inner garbage. We always make something out of the people in front of us. It's what we do. We're little meaning making machines. And sometimes on people's deathbed, I had one experience of a family member, and they wanted to be honest with the one who's dying. Well, they just wanted to actually dump on them that, oh, you hurt me in this way and I still feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like this. And it's like, what is that going to serve the situation in any way? This person is passing out of the realm. And, even if they weren't in that moment, it still wouldn't be useful. It wouldn't be cause for growth in the person who's being honest about them. And it wouldn't be cause for growth in the person who is receiving that. So I think that's kind of what a few people were saying in the chat about, abusing honesty. And I like what you said, that perfection is the antithesis to being real, and perfection is definitely programming. It has the fear of death underneath it, that if I don't get it perfect, I'm going to die. If I don't get this communication thing, and I have to always balance expression and repression and be on this swing. And it sucks the life out of you. It drains the life out of you. So
and it causes you to cast a very large shadow for yourself that you have to deal with eventually as well.
Exactly. A big mess that we all have to clean up at some point, and it's going to reflect back to us, and our life is obligated to reflect back to us what isn't cleaned up yet, whether in one situation or multiple situations. So yeah, it is very highly nuanced. What does being real actually mean? There's also, I'll just quickly say, Yerasimos, when there are some people who use an online platform to be this authentic, real person, and they come out and they, maybe cry, and they talk about their personal problems, and they tell you what happened wrong between them and their husband on a public post, or they're, and then they think they're being so real. And people do gravitate towards that, but a little bit more like an accident. Like we're unfortunately interested in seeing something, scary or gory that happened out of interest and intrigue. It's compelling. But Yerasimos, you're busting out. Go ahead.
Well, no. I was just going to say on that one point, obviously the way people go about doing that is if it happens organically in a conversation, sure. But like if you are having an experience and then you have to stop to go get your phone to press record so you can show people that you're having an experience, like you've lost it. Like that it's not real. Like, this would be good to share on Instagram right now. What? No.
Right.
Like
right.
you and I are having a conversation and you say something, and we're talking about maybe, I'm talking about my dad that passed away, you're talking, and then we're vulnerable and emotional. That's different than like I'm having a memory of my dad and I have tears, and then I'm like, oh wait, this would be great. This would be great teaching. Like, so I was just thinking about my dad. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. So being real, being authentic becomes a persona, right? Absolutely. And then it's real and authentic, but it's in reality, it's a something that you're projecting. Yeah. And then it's fascinating. Again, it does draw people, but it doesn't draw them for the right reasons, is what I notice, right? That they end up feeling sorry for you. They feel embarrassed for you. They feel the pain maybe of what you're going through. They often want to run after you and fix you, give you advice, tell you what to do. And so it's not good results.
Yeah, but you need to. It's great to have those moments to share, but again, there's discernment involved. You need to share with the right people at the right time in a place that feels safe and correct, and with the right intention as well. Yeah. Like all those things really matter.
There isn't a specific formula. This is how to be real for every single person on earth. Like in every moment. Like it's a game. You have to figure this out. You're always dancing your inner world with the external world and your relationships, intrapersonally, interpersonally. For me, it's how can I become as fluid in my situation where I'm having an experience, and then I don't just go back and like micromanage it and judge myself and live with shame and self-consciousness. I'm not perfect, but I feel comfortable with who I am, with the complexity of who I am. Do you know what I mean? I think when you do enough inner excavating, or you do quote unquote shadow work or whatever, and you understand like the different qualities within you, the lovely qualities and the shitty qualities. Like, I know I have the capacity to lie, cheat, steal. I don't do it though, but I know I have that capacity. And so I think the more you know about yourself, the more you dive in and you accept the icky parts and the good parts, especially the icky parts, you're not going to project them out externally. Oh, they're all the evil, bad ones everywhere. And it's like, we all have the capacity to potentially do some fucked up shit in the world. And maybe we have. Mm-hmm. And so I think the more we can kind of, again, hold the space for the multiplicity, for the depth and the nuance, like that's part of being real.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, I love it. It's such a great practice to whatever you're aware of in yourself, usually pain or regret or some kind of sense like, oh, I made a mistake. I took a wrong turn. I said the wrong thing. And the first thing that we want to do is reject that, because you don't like pain. Nobody likes pain. You're not going to go, oh, yes, come here into my awareness so you can sit and have tea with me. But that's exactly the remedy. And to me, what is being real, that you can expand your awareness to include everything that comes into it, and not just go, oh, not you. Nope, not you. Oh, I'm not going to, feel right or look right or be right if you're part of this. But we don't get to say what's actually in reality, but we do get to have a relationship or choose the nature of our relationship with it.
Yeah. That's choosing to expand your consciousness towards reality, so that is absolutely the pathway towards being more real. Like the moment you start rejecting reality, inner or outer, it's like you're fragmenting yourself.
And then when you're trying to not feel pain and not feel discomfort, and trust me, our world throws millions upon millions of things at us to distract ourselves, to not feel discomfort, to not feel pain, or at least to just keep pushing it, down the road, kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
But like when you have a core value of, hey, hopefully I want to do the work necessary to have the capacity to feel discomfort. So when you do, let's say, betray someone's trust or do something else that's out of integrity, that you're not just living in rationalization, justification, blaming the other person. You can sit and look in the mirror and feel the pain. Like I said earlier, that shame, that shame is driving you towards being a better person and behaving with more integrity. And so hopefully you can feel. I'm saying there's different types of shame. Okay, let's say I said, fuck you, Beth, like out of nowhere, or let's say I lied to you. Like I might, oh, fuck. I come back to like some sort of center. I'm like, oh shit, I can't believe I just said that to Beth. I'm feeling the shame of me. Maybe it's a different word. I'm feeling the shame of I've disrespected you in a way that's not good. And I want to change that. And so can I use that feeling to drive me towards learning to be a better person? Or maybe even then, you know what? I need to apologize to Beth. I mean, so many people can't even apologize to other human beings. They just like months go by and they're just like, oh, hey, good to see you again. What's going on?
I know. Sweep it into the rug. Exactly.
And so that's what I'm talking about in terms of feeling that discomfort about maybe saying injuring another person, maybe not physically, injuring another person, and feeling the reality of that within myself that hopefully drives me to, going up to that person, taking responsibility, apologizing, and hopefully not doing it again in the future. I think that's what I'm trying to explain.
I get it. Yeah. And again, we grow through pain. That's the tendency. It's not the only way, but it certainly is a major way. And one of the things that I had a great coach that was just observing that phenomena where people were using authenticity as a kind of currency and in a way to manipulate and maybe draw an audience and all of that kind of thing. And her distinction in terms of being transparent and honest was to consider the most important factor of all, which is not you, but it's the people receiving your message. Will it serve them? Will it help them? Will it be cause for them to be inspired to do some hard inner work or whatever your subject is? That to me is always the filter. that if I'm going to come out and share something, whether it's in my private community or in a podcast, or even just with a single individual friend or helper, coach, whomever that is, it's different when you're hiring somebody to help you than you're not as much considering, although you still have to, because if it's going to say blow their nervous system to help you with something, then that's not going to serve you to have them be, depending on, of course, what it is and the severity, but that does being real actually serve the other. And there's many circumstances, I think you started out with Joel talking, where it doesn't serve them for you to be real. They can't handle it. They have no context for it. It won't be cause for their growth. It will be cause for them to just simply shut down and not want to listen to you in any way.
Yeah, totally. And I think there's also a delineation if you're working in a self-help industry and if your intention is to help people, because the artist has great value as well, right? And I don't think the artist should create for the other as well. I think the artist should create purely for themselves. And sometimes that is going to trigger and push people and, maybe initially cause friction and be a disservice, so the role of the artist, I think, is important there too.
Yeah, that's a very beautiful distinction. I love that. It can be completely different. And it gives you a little bit of a different license, because they didn't hire you to help them. They hired you to, and art is different in a way. It's not a hiring situation. And we often don't buy art. Now we just consume art, and art becomes the vehicle for getting out there.
Yeah.
Do you believe that the hero's journey really is about helping and serving others, no matter what path you take?
I think that genuine helping and serving others usually comes as a byproduct of genuinely helping and serving one's self and but I say that with a little bit of a caveat, because you have to be able to make the distinction between your authentic desires and your conditioned desires. But I think when one genuinely answers the inner calling that only they have and of their soul, whether it happens consciously or unconsciously, that will serve others as a byproduct of you genuinely committing to that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's exactly where the intersection is. And, if you're self-serving in any other way, that's what you do. You're serving yourself. But when it comes to your purpose and your calling, that is, in fact, your way. That's how I see it, to serve yourself and serve others at the same time.
That's the thing. Part of the hero's journey is like, how do you come back to yourself and then figure out who you are, what your gift is, and give the gift in the world,
Yeah.
But I'm doing it because it's a natural expression of who I am as a human being.
Yeah.
I'm not out there searching, what can I do for other people so they can like me and think I'm cool or smart or whatever the case may be. I'm just me in all my glory and mess and whatever. I'm me as healthily as I can be, doing my thing. And I love educating. I love inspiring people. But I love doing that. I'm doing that for me, and it's impacting people as well. If that makes sense.
You have to be inherently selfish to actually discover the boon or the gift in the first place.
Right, exactly. That like the extreme that Yerasimos is talking about, where you abandon yourself and then you go out pretending and having that persona that you're there to serve others as an excuse to completely bypass doing your own work. So yeah. If it doesn't include you, like we were talking about inclusiveness, if it doesn't include you, then it's not real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like if I thought the mission was just to serve others, then, would you ever individuate from the family unit? Would you ever discover your unique interests and passions and cultivate your skills and nurture all these gifts? You wouldn't. There'd be a separation between you and yourself, and you'd just be outward and basically living a small, conditioned, passive life where you never really leave the tribe, I think. Individuation happens as a result of that genuine pursuit of who am I and what do I want?
Yeah, beautiful. Wow, we're going so deep. I love this. So, do you want to say something?
No, it's fine. I'm good.
Yeah. I was just going to ask, what are the benefits? Maybe we've covered a lot of them already. Is there anything more that when it comes to, say, a person that is wanting, because that desire comes, right? I'd like to be myself more. Maybe I'm in a work environment or family environment. Many people found themselves in marriages where they really couldn't be authentic, especially when the wheat and the chaff started to separate. And I know that, I paid a great price for speaking my truth in public in terms of the relationships we all did. There was, quite a exodus from my life that still to this day is drawn lines in the sand. But what is what would you say to people is going to change for them when they're able to risk that, to be themselves, maybe something they know, something that they're experiencing? How many people were hiding their, like, yeah, I know everything's fake and gay, but I can't say that because I might lose my job, or I'm going to piss off my whatever, or something like that. And, can we paint the positive side of this picture for any more than we already have, or is there anything?
I think the more real you are, you start, like, the things that aren't real in your life just start getting released from your life. Now, that process may be painful, but that's part of the journey. And so, just like you, I mean, I had tons of people unfollow me, come into my DMs, judge me, especially in the 2020 years, but even before that, but what's more important than, like, looking in the mirror and being happy with who you are and the life that you're leading?
Yeah.
In that regard, I want to go to sleep at night feeling good about who I am, that I'm trying my best to align with my values and live from my values, as opposed to the ones that are projected on me. Like, I love my parents. I was very blessed with loving old school Greek immigrant parents. But if I lived the life that they thought was possible for me, because they didn't know much of like the possibilities, they came to this country, they were like, you should focus on this, that, the other. If I listened to them, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't have the life that I have. And I just know many examples of people that I grew up with that didn't go on the individuation, the hero's journey in a similar way. And I see how it's impacting their lives. And so while I'm grateful for being born into this world, I'm going to go on my own path. I'm going to be like Siddhartha, leaving the palace to be like, what's out there in the world? Let me figure things out. I'm not saying I sat under a tree and became enlightened, but just in terms of going on that journey and figuring it out. And so, the longer, like you said before, the longer you've gone by not answering that call, when you do answer the call, the shit's going to hit the fan more so, because there's so many years of betraying yourself that, things are going to pop up and come to the surface. But it's necessary if you want to sit there and be, man, I'm making decisions based on what I want, not what my wife wants, my husband wants, my mom and dad, my grandparents, my pastor, my rabbi. I'm making the decisions from inside. And the thing is, every person, you go to bed at night, and this is where stillness is important, or being able to be with oneself and getting out of the rat race and constant distraction, is that when you find time to be alone, that's when these things are going to bubble up from the conscious, and they're going to keep knocking on the door. Like, why are you still at the job? Why are you still in the relationship? Why are you still doing that thing?
Yep.
And are you listening? Or you wake up, let me drink 3 cups of coffee, let me go to my job, let me smoke some weed, let me do all the things to keep myself in the rat race on the wheel. But then what happens 30, 40 years later, you're dealing with disease and a whole bunch of other stuff. And so there's no better time than now to kind of say, fuck it, this is my life. I've been given this gift. I'm going to make some decisions based on what I truly feel and want in my life. But you have to navigate what comes from that.
I think the rational person will always conclude that the cost of the life unlived far outweighs the long-term pain and numbness from never questioning the status quo and the familiarity of their lives. And that was deeply the case for me. It's just that call within, that deep intuitive voice of, There's some hard conversations you need to have, buddy. You know, it's just became too much to ignore. And I couldn't, in any possible rational sense, spend my entire life just ignoring that, you know? And so the process begins. I mean, it can just be summated by Joseph Campbell, you know, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. And that has rung true for me time and time again throughout my life, regardless of which stage I find myself at.
Yeah. 20 plus years ago, I'm living in New York City in my friend's apartment. He built a small room for me. I'm living on the floor, like on an egg crate pad. And, you know, there were friends and mutual friends that were making fun of me. I left my like post-college job. You know, I thought I was on the path to being like a hotelier, you know, working in that industry. I grew up in that industry, and I just knew something inside of me that this wasn't it. And so I was willing to go through that. I was willing to maybe have some people in the background going, oh, Yerasimos, he's living in New York City. He's trying to be an actor, blah, blah, blah. But each thing leads to the next thing. And like I started this whole conversation, at least talking about myself, is like I allow the openness for the to not have to know the objective, the actual goal down the road, but just that I wanted to be true to myself as best as I could, moment to moment, year to year, decade to decade. Yeah. And I don't know where I'm going to be in 10 years right now. Like, I have no idea.
Yeah. And I mean, if you want to speak about the ultimate benefit, it's like nothing feels as good as congruence. Like there is nothing out there that exists that feels better or is of more value than congruence.
Exactly. And Yerasimos used the term betraying of yourself, which is in the hero's journey archetypes. This is the child archetype that is vulnerable to betrayal. And I write about it that the child must be betrayed because it's exactly that betrayal experience that makes you say, okay, how do I get congruent in this?
Yeah.
How do I get to the core? How do I, because, you know, it's a cliche, but you have to be in your body 24 hours, 7 days a week, every single day, even if you, busy yourself and distract yourself, it's still all here. You don't get away from it. And it's always going to call you. So that ultimate betrayal is what we end up playing out at many superficial levels, which don't feel superficial in relationships and romances and all kinds of things. But the ultimate betrayal is of that self and that spark of life that you are, that only you could express and be known by, you want to say yourself, but now we're talking a bigger self.
That's the beauty of duality. It's the gift of duality. Like we get to understand ourselves through this process, which pervades all of nature and pervades the entire cosmos, is this dualistic aspect where, there's friction, there's tension, there's shifts, and beauty occurs and growth occurs, and we get to make opportunities.
Exactly. And then you've both said that in the way. The much bigger regret at the end of the day is not doing that, not risking that, not going through all of the pain and the mess. And I mean, it is. I always say it's not a hero's journey. If you're just having an easy time and sipping the Mai Tais and everybody's getting along and it goes well, and it's also predictable and you can lay it out over time and know exactly what's going to happen. You said it many times, Yerasimos, over the course of the interview today, just about that. It really is, being real is only now. You can't project that on the future. You can't really refer to your past to get any information about that right now. And things constantly change and evolve.
Yeah. But and there's something deep within you that knows through the process of being committed to authenticity that material and external reality is going to shift and morph in a way to reflect that, and that's been very clear in my experience for sure.
Yeah. It's a good question here about self-sabotage and very strongly related. Do you guys want to take a pass at that?
One by Nubek, by Melly.
Yeah, if someone is
love
aware.
You guys. We'd love to hear your one piece of advice if someone is aware they are stuck in self-sabotage and can't quiet the noise to find congruence. What's the first step? Well, I mean, the first thing that I would say is if you have the awareness that you're stuck in self-sabotage, then it's not necessarily about quieting the noise to find congruence. It's about acting to find congruence. If you're aware of what the self-sabotaging pattern is, then ask yourself very clearly, what is the next small thing that I need to do to bring myself back to congruence? And it's an active orientation as opposed to quieting the noise in a stillness orientation is my first thought.
Yeah, and I think also too, like self-sabotage, that's a very general term. So like what is the form of self-sabotage? You know, is someone drinking too much? Are they like a sex addict? Are they, you know, there's so many different elements to that. And so I think one element around like can you create any space before you act on the thing? Like whatever that thing is that you're using to sabotage yourself, can you interrupt that and see what feeling is underneath that you're trying to run away from or distract yourself from in order to do the thing that's going to make you not feel maybe the uncomfortable thing potentially? And again, this is a conversation that we can have for a while, but yeah, like what is the self-sabotage? So
Right. Yeah, I'll say a little bit about this as well, that I have spent a bunch of time with what I call the primal archetypes, the saboteur being one of them. And so the self-sabotage or sabotage of anything would be the unconscious expression of that archetype, the conscious expression being choice, right? So anything that you do in your life that removes choice, you know, you have that like, I never want to see you again conversation with somebody, and it like burns the bridge and that relationship is over, or you just do something to end things in a way that you know, you live long enough and you start seeing nothing really ends, guys, just so you know, nothing really ends. So don't put an end to anything. It's not like that. It will change, evolve. You know, maybe there's going to be distance in a relationship or something. It'll transform. It'll be different. But yeah. So to me, it's about seeing the choice and valuing the choice that's in front of you. If you don't have the value for that, then you might easily sabotage that and regret that later too. So that's a big part of it. Deprogramming kind of aside. Yeah, really good question. Thank you for that. Let's see. So one of the last things I wanted to talk about was around how people have such mixed experiences. When I was growing up I was aware at a very young age that no one wanted me to be myself. And they also didn't want to be themselves. They didn't feel, well, I don't know what they were feeling, but they weren't being real. I still have examples in my life, no one that I'm close with. I don't have any relationships with people that maybe 1.5 or something like that. And that is a much smaller amount, but that they are just not willing to enter into that arena. So when you are yourself, they don't like it. They don't like being themselves. And then, you know, so do you want to unpack that a little bit, that why people are afraid of that and want it at the same time?
Well, I think the more real that you become, it just shines a brighter and greater mirror onto those around you that are not willing to kind of cross that threshold and hold that same field of truth. And so pain builds up, and what you'll find is the more that you become real over time, those people start to seem more inauthentic, and you know, relationships kind of separate on as you go on this journey. I'm not sure if that was the direct question, but that was the first thing that came to mind.
well, and also what you're saying, Joel, like your truth, like living truthfully and your realness.
Yeah.
Again, if they're being highlighted in the ways that they're not, they would need to have the capacity to sit with like, oh man, Yerasimos and Joel, like they're doing their thing. Like, I'm not fucking doing my thing. Why am I not doing my thing? Like, what can I do to do my thing and to live more truthfully? That would be like the conscious thing and like the step to take. But many people, they get into envy and jealousy and judgment. So if you're reflecting back the ways they're inauthentic, most people aren't going to sit there and go, oh man, like I'm not being authentic in my life. They're going to be like, fuck that dude. He thinks he's cool, or he's a conspiracy theorist, or whatever the case. They're just going to like judge and deflect and dismiss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the same thing. Like I haven't drank alcohol in a long time. It's just my personal preference. It's probably like 12 plus years. And like, I remember in the early days, if I was out and having a drink, like, then you have those people that like, they'll just be like, oh, they'll make fun of you because you're not drinking, or they'll be uncomfortable that you're not. And then they'll be like, well, I don't drink really that much anymore either. I'm just, I'm just drinking tonight. It's very interesting to see people's dynamics when you're just kind of solid in who you are and your choices. Like, I don't care if you drink. But then again, all of a sudden, me not drinking is causing this whole inner thing to happen, and rationalization and justification and conversation. I'm like, take it easy. You can have a drink.
But like what we're speaking to is the exact reason why the crowd will never walk this path, because the pain of having the familiarity of their status quo being shaken up and space being created for something else is just a choice that the mass of men do not want to make. I very much so believe that this is a path for the individual. It's a narrow gate. It's not the wide gate. Those who enter the narrow gates, in many ways, agreeing to experience a certain level of turbulence in the status quo for an eventual payout of more liberation, more congruence, and more love of life and of self.
And it's like the crabs in the bucket analogy that you hear often. If one crab tries to crawl out, all the other ones are going to try to pull that crab back. So again, all the massive men that, let's say, are leading an inauthentic life and don't have the capacity to sit with themselves and go, why is this crab trying to go out of the bucket? Like, is there something there that I can maybe learn from this crab to apply to my life? No, because again, that crab is mirroring back to the others, in the ways that they're not trying to get out. I'm just trying to use the example.
Yeah, absolutely. In Australia, we call it tall poppy syndrome. The poppy that grows too tall tends to get cut down.
And it doesn't mean you need to go around telling everyone how amazing you are. I'm so amazing. I've gotten out of the crab bucket. Look at me. Look at all the things I've accomplished. It's not about that. It's actually not a loud path.
No, it's not.
You just go about doing your thing.
It's not performative.
You shine the light of truth as an individual, and then hopefully people come across your path and go, man, I like what that dude's about. I like how he communicates. I like how he's living his life. There's something about him that feels real. Mm-hmm. I want some of that. Not in a way like, I'm gonna take him down to take it, but I want to be more real.
Well, I mean,
you can, and then not, in a lot of ways, not even trying to. And other people are like, man, I want to be around that person. I want to learn from that person because I want to up level my life and I want to live from my light, because that light gets extinguished.
Well, I mean, even just using our story as an example, in many ways, that's the reason why you emailed Michael Tsarian in 2020 and ended up on Unslaved. Then I watched your Unslaved episode and I was like, this guy's real. And I messaged you in 2021 and we connected. It's like you answer that call. Like in this part of the hero's journey as well, you get this vague remembrance that someone is meant to be a role model or a mentor or plays some kind of role. And you answer that call to connect with that person and you get called forward in that capacity,
Yeah. And what I was saying before, we each have that unique spark, that unique light, that gets beaten and conditioned out of us. And again, all you have to do is look at 1-year-olds and 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds, and then what happens? Usually that gets just,
well, I mean,
no, be this, don't do this, don't do that. And it's like most people are spending their adults just to kind of unpeel all those layers so they can come back and find that light and that wonder and that excitement and apply it into their life.
It would be an entire podcast in itself to talk about the 14,000 hours we spend in indoctrinated government schools, which kind of leads to the diminishment of that light, and why we basically have a populace of adult children who don't know themselves and aren't connected to the true thread of their lives.
Exactly. They don't even get to go to the bathroom when they want. How can you be yourself?
I know.
Yeah.
That's the biggest travesty and tragedy in my opinion, and it could make me weep thinking about that. It's like heavy.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah, it really brings up that it's polarizing. Basically, when you're yourself, then it does present, and that's relevant to the saboteur archetype. It presents the choice for the other person. Do they lean in?
Yeah.
And then see like, oh, I'm kind of uncomfortable because I'm seeing how they have grown, and I could grow in that way, and that makes me kind of uncomfortable. Am I going to lean into that? Or am I going to judge, deflect, dismiss, go into pride about it? Start just like justifying yourself, where you're at, and what you have chosen to do. And I like what you said, Joel, about the narrow gate. Like, that's what I notice, is that the gate gets more and more narrow, and I think it almost infinitely goes in that direction. It's not really a banner celebration, that it's quiet, and it gets smaller, right? Like the whole world gets smaller and more concentrated, and that's actually so beautiful and satisfying, because there's so much food there. The last thing I was going to add just is that freedom is terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. So when people see that, it brings up their terror. And then, so what are you going to do with it? Are you going to use it as grist for the mill and go inside and see why you've got that huge charge and all that energy tied up around it? Or are you going to pass this lifetime?
Your life is your own, that's it. Your life is your own. My past, my history is mine. You have your own past, your own history. Maybe it's harder for certain people than it is for others, but that's what you signed up for in this lifetime, and so what are you going to do about it? You can sit there, complain, and blame everyone else, blame your mom, blame your dad. Cool. There might be a moment to feel the feelings of that, but like 10 years later and you're still complaining about the same things. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Complain about new things.
This is going to bring you to the promised land. Okay. Sorry, what did you say?
Just to complain about new things. Yeah,
complain about.
But ultimately, that's what you want. You want the problems that you're solving need to evolve. If they're not evolving, then nothing's changing.
And the irony of that is that have you noticed this? How, when you think you have a new problem, same old problem, same old problem. Oh yeah, that problem I'm very familiar. Welcome back, problem. But
some
at a
problems
different
are easier
level.
to change, and some problems are just deep, like core stuff that you might need to sit with and spend some time with, and also have some compassion for yourself. Again, it's like this perfection thing. Like, if I don't fix this one thing, I'm not, until I fix this thing, I'm not going to get into a relationship, or I'm not going to start a business. Like, sometimes doing the thing is going to then help you exponentially grow, as opposed to, let me wait till I'm perfect before I do the next thing, start the business, look for romance.
Nature doesn't wait for perfect. Survival doesn't wait for perfect.
Exactly. Yeah, you got it. Oh, what a satisfying conversation. So I'm just going to take a quick look through the chat. I know I've missed a few comments along the way. And if there's anything that people have to ask, if you guys have a few more minutes.
Of course.
Sure.
Then let's see where we were. Dagmar was talking about a great book, Don't Be Nice, Be Real. That's that's that highly nuanced, because then, like, if you're just an asshole, then that's not real either, right? That's not what that's about. But I know you're not.
I was raised as a people pleaser. Greek mom, going to church all the time. Like, I got a lot of value out of what people thought about me because I was kind. I anticipated people's needs. I wanted people to like me. Now, those elements of that aspect of me serve me very well, and I keep them. But I'm not just like taken over by it. I had to do work to go, wait, this is just an aspect of me. There's other parts of me that are focused on setting boundaries, that are there to speak about my needs and what I want. Do you know what I mean? And so it is that dance, being nice all the time. Like, you're going to attract a lot of people that are taking that niceness very often. That's what happens.
Yeah, they're being nice, but they really are just wanting approval. So there's it's not even nice. Nice would be more like you're contributing or offering something to the situation rather than trying to get something.
Mm-hmm.
That's not honest. It's creepy, actually. So
no, it's the shadow of altruism.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And Cleena said, I took on radical responsibility, regret nothing aside from how long it took me to figure it out. Better late than never.
That's it. Better late than never, because a lot of people are going to go to their deathbed, haven't figured it out. So it's like, how do we get out of the compare and contrast game and understand that your life is unique and is one of one, and your path is your path?
And if you feel contented with where you are and who you are today, how can you possibly regret anything that has led to the path of that?
Beautiful. I love that. And the nervous system piece is really good. There are limits, unfortunately, in that electrical system. So there's times where you can blow out, and that's not pretty. And it has some, lots of fallout and work to repair. So yeah, it's good to track that nervous system. Let's see if there's anything else. Dagmar said, I love art in all forms. In order to make art, you have to turn your experience into an offering. See, she's actually really good at this. Dagmar's going to be, by the way, coming on the podcast to interview me.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, she asks really good questions. Her and I are like sisters. I keep discovering so many parallels. And turn her experience into an offering, to use the craft in your particular art form, then it becomes the gift. It's very nice. Yeah, she's a writing coach. She's going to be doing a writing workshop in the House of Free Will as well on method writing. Yeah.
I think as Rick Rubin says, to make genuine art, you have to put the audience last.
You have to put the art, say that
The
again.
audience. You have to put the audience last.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, and could you also even equally say it as truthfully, like, and flip it the other way around, that it's because, you can sit, or do you agree with this, you guys, that if you sit in your living room and you do art, maybe very prolifically, you write, you paint, you make music, but you never actually offer it to anybody, is it still art?
I think you can definitely purely create for yourself, never share it with anybody, and just have that experience for yourself, and you become more evolved through that. Like, art is its mirror in and of itself. I think the moment you create, you've won, and I don't think the call is there for everyone to have to share that. I'm sure some of the greatest works of art that possibly exist we've never seen. I feel very confident about that.
Interesting. Any take on that, Yerasimos?
I don't think I have anything to add. I think I agree with both. I mean, I think it's great when your gift gets seen by others and impacts others, but I don't think it's like a necessity to like living an honorable life.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you can't come along and fault someone for it, but
I mean,
like
I would love to see these great pieces of art that Joel, that are out there that we've never seen. But again, everyone's doing their thing and making their decisions. And I'd be curious to know, like, what within that person is keeping them. Like, I want to know more specifics. Like, who's the person that has created one of the greatest works of art? Why haven't we seen it?
I'm sure there's like certain like sages or hermits that just create for themselves, and like they're even though no one sees their work, the work that they do in isolation is being felt and rippled on some level.
They're not doing an Instagram live tomorrow that everyone has 180,000 followers.
Yeah. Like, we need those people, I feel.
And what's the context? So, really, can you say anything that's absolutely true in that arena? Say somebody is extremely comfortable in the public and they've done a lot of sharing of their art and performing, or teaching maybe in other arenas, whatever it is, and they're in fact uncomfortable not doing that. There's something that gets them, that brings their stuff up, and they're not quite okay with it just being about them, for themselves. So that might be a different direction, always finding what your edge is. And but if someone's terrified to get out and be seen, then you must.
Yes, and obviously it depends on what the driver is at all times.
Yeah, exactly. I think there was a question here. This one isn't a question. Love all these answers. Couldn't agree more. So helpful to hear different perspectives and options. You're very welcome. RMA said, I wonder what causes the initial veils in authenticity in us. Like, as a small child, she remembers being scared of clowns. Who wasn't? Because of the fake smile and authentic. They're all pedophiles, those clowns. I'm sorry. Like, there's a lot of that going on in that.
Weird, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was a probably gross over claim right there, but there's a lot of that. If you look at the origins of, say, that, like the Shriners, do you have that down in your world? And it's all.
I mean, I've heard of it, but I haven't delved into it.
Yeah. Like, people who create professions around being around children can sometimes do that for really gross things.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then they're hiding. They literally have a mask on, and you can't tell who they are. I mean, they're terrifying. I hate clowns. Bias there. Hello, anonymous guest. Welcome. I'm so glad you made it.
Hello, anonymous.
He's my great buddy. Come on Telegram and you'll get to know him. And Dagmar said the first draft of all your work is what called the me draft. If I choose to share the work with people, I do an audience draft with an awareness of the other. That simplifies it.
Interesting.
Yeah. And some sages don't have IG accounts. Yep, that's true. And oh yeah, RMA, you have to come on Telegram. We've been discussing this at length. And we'll take one pass at that and start to close down. What can be called an absolute truth? We're going to go in circles. I know that's conversation.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me. I don't know.
I mean,
I have an eyeball. That's true. I think that's true.
But is it true forever? Did you always have an eyeball, and will you always have an eyeball?
I know. Like, what is eye? I mean, we could go down all the rabbit holes of that too. You know what? Yeah.
well, I mean, it's important to have a grounding in objective reality for a life well lived. You know, Ayn Rand called it the law of, I think, reality, A equals A. And I think without understanding that A equals A, then that's kind of how we end up on some of these new age spiritual spirals where we think we can bypass certain laws of reality and kind of get to where we want to go. And that was a path that I took for a while in my life. And in many ways, you know, Ayn Rand helped me immensely in my own personal growth journey by becoming more oriented to reality. So whether you want to call it an absolute truth or not, there is an objective reality that exists that's constantly giving you feedback. And I think in whatever capacity you can receive that, I think the basis of this conversation is that we need to be able to orient more towards that and muster more consciousness towards that in order to kind of continue to walk a more authentic and fruitful path in our lives. You know, it's like the state of your bank account is an absolute truth. The state of your relationship is an absolute truth. And that's telling you something, and it's a catalyst for you to make a different decision in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The facts and the evidence are good. Let's look at those. Yeah, because mostly we're pointing to how we feel about the facts and the evidence and treating that to be part of the facts, and it's just not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. One definition of self-esteem is, you know, building a friendly relationship with facts.
Yeah. I remember I posted something. I posted the phrase facts over feelings like several years ago, and it's like a right-wing talking point, and like I was getting called out as some like crazy Republican because I said facts over feelings. Like a simple, like 3 simple words. I thought that was amusing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, their whole platform is gone as soon as you're not accounting feelings, right? Yeah. So yeah, exactly. And then I come down to, like, with this question, I really come down to function. What is the purpose and the use that would increase connection, that it would increase viability, that it would increase purpose or capacity for purpose? That's the context that you could speak about in absolute truth. And then, you know, this was from one of the law guys on my chat there on Telegram, and he points to I am is the only absolute truth that you can absolutely, you know, like that will be true over time and never change and evolve.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of bridged into the whole topic of existentialism, you know, and existence. Do you accept existence as a fact and as an absolute truth? Do you accept physical death as an absolute truth? And if you do, how does that change you as a person right now?
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've maybe come down to it. Thanks, Dagmar, even if the other is inside me. Yeah, she was actually recommending an exercise the other day. I have a finger injury, and she was getting me to write my finger to some other object. It didn't work, Dagmar. I just want you to know I might have I need some more instruction on that. It wasn't I didn't quite get it. It was frustrating, just so you know, but fun anyway. And
very, very, very truthful of you, Beth.
Right. Yeah. No, I said I did it for about 20 minutes. I'm like, nah, this isn't working for me. Doesn't mean it's not a good one. Just somehow I made it between the finger and the banana. Maybe I chose badly. I don't know. Nothing deep came out of it. Been hiding from Telegram, but at least come on Telegram. Yeah. People like, oh, I don't do social media. I don't this and everything. And it's like, if you know what the target is, and you know that it's like specific people that you want to talk to and communicate and be in, you know, definitely recommend the Here for the Truth. Do you guys want to grab a link quick so I can share it for you, your Telegram, or where would you like people to intersect with you most?
I mean, everything's at hereforthetruth.com. Our community is hereforthetruth.com/FOTT. But yeah, everything's there. Hereforthetruth.com. You can find everything we're about there.
All our links are there as well. Telegram, Instagram, whatever it might be, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I see you guys all over the place on Facebook and X. And by the way, we are live on Facebook and YouTube and X and Rumble and even Vigilante TV.
And I think the new evolution of social media is more of these micro online communities too, like in terms of where you can have dialogues with people that you align with more instead of just being bombarded with so much stuff. I just feel like the more focused it is, it's better. Obviously, in person, you can't replace in-person connection and in-person community, but the next best thing is, there are so many people in this world, and you can connect with people from all over the place in these different little communities that we're all creating. Oh, yeah. Nadine.
Love you, Nadine.
Love you.
And then maybe one last or two last. Some humans have an acuity towards objective reality. Some are steeped within subjectivity, reality, and lose alignment with objective reality. Yep, that can happen. Mm-hmm. And you've been finding yourself in the quiet, if that makes sense, like less voices for better or worse. Retelegram. There you go. Yeah, very good.
I think the quiet is extremely important for anyone trying to become more real and be on the authentic path. Because that, like I said earlier, in the quiet, you're going to meet yourself in a completely different way. And by quiet, I don't mean you just have to sit there holding your hands up and meditating, and just being quiet and being in nature. We're losing connection to nature in a way that is concerning to me. And it's not just like, oh, let me just get all dressed up and go on some hike in LA. What is your connection? Are you spending time there? Are you observing? Are you feeling the wind on your cheek? Are you seeing, the leaves moving? Are you seeing the animals? Are you even engaging? Even just for me, what I've learned just by working with nature and gardening and learning about that and seeing the cycles of nature has been eye-opening for me. So I think anyone listening, if you can get yourself out in nature, in quiet, spend some time with yourself, it is such an important element of being real and learning more about yourself.
Yeah. Nature is an incredible mirror. You definitely see yourself in that. Yeah, that's beautiful. Anything coming up that you want to share with people?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the next evolution of Rise Above the Herd, which is our coaching program, is now available and is now here, and we've been working quite hard behind the scenes to kind of bring forth this next emanation of it, where it's no longer like a strict cohort based thing, but we're offering more immersive mentorship type experiences for the individual that genuinely wants to develop more meaning in their life, become more real, and watch their life change as a result. So yeah, we're very excited to have launched that recently, and people can, if they feel the call, check that out at our website, and they'll find Rise Above the Herd pretty quickly from there. Okay,
fantastic. Great. Well, thank you, everyone. I'm going to play us out. By the way, the intro is by my son. I usually don't say his name, but his handle on YouTube is Psycho. He's 18 now. I think you probably take it, but that's Saiko, by the way, not another kind of psycho. And I'm happy to always promote his work if you want to go and sub to him to help encourage him to do a lot more of this music. It's crazy turning 18 in this world. I'm just like, I'm so glad that's not me, but I still is mom. And if anyone is looking to go deeper into the work, our work has a lot of overlap. In that way, you can do the King Hero Archetype quiz at my website to find out where on that path of purpose you are at this time. If you've done it in the past and you already signed up for it and you'd like the link to do it again, just to have a check-in, see if there's been an evolution there, you can absolutely do that. Here's the link to that. And then just to let you know that coming up starting September 10th with the orientation, I am hosting the Journey Code Coaching Certification Training. And I gave a talk called The Power of Questions, which included my podcast role not long ago. And you can sign up for the replay. There's a link there in the chat. And you can also find that at my website to take that in and hear all about the 7-month training, behemoth training that I decided to create and share with people so that the paths of reality could intersect once the world went bananas. And there was some way for me to be in the world that was authentic and felt real and of service at the same time. So that we're going on our 7th training, which is to me amazing since the pandemic started. And that's turned into a really, really beautiful behind the scenes, very intimate experience with people that want to go deep, not only to heal themselves, but others, that you can't do for to others, but you can be in that role facilitating, which I know you guys know. So thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Thanks, Joel and Yerasimos. What a satisfying conversation. That was food for me.
Yeah, same here. Thank you so much for having us on.
Yeah,
You're very
absolutely,
welcome.
Bob. Thank you.
All right. Bye for now. And one more thing, just for the record, since I haven't ended the stream yet, I wanted to let you guys know that I'm going to be on Here for the Truth coming up on September 8th. So I just about missed saying that. I was just going to respond to Yerasimos in a message, and I remembered that. So just so you know, coming up on their podcast is going to be as well. All right, everyone, have a beautiful rest of your day. So much love. Bye for now.